Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you question 13. So as you can see in the diagram, it gives you information regarding the height of the building and the distance where the ball hit the ground. Okay, so first, obviously, we need to extract information regarding what information that the question gave you. So first of all, give you this symbol of U here, which means and the arrow which indicates the direction of the initial velocity. Okay, as you can see, the arrow is straight horizontally. Therefore, we can make a conclusion that this projectile is horizontal projectile, or some of you might call it half projectile. Okay, so from this, automatically you can know the Ux and Uy. Okay, so Ux is basically U here. Okay, so write down U, and Uy automatically is equal to 0. This is very important. Okay, and then 65 and 80. 80 is the horizontal distance as X, therefore is 80 meter. Sy is 65. But the value is negative. Why negative? If you compare the initial point and the final point, the final is below the initial. Therefore, the S here should be negative. Okay? Alright, so for part A, it asks you to find time of flight. Time of flight simply means the total time for the ball to travel. It means from here up to here. So the total time. Okay? Obviously, we're going to do the Subtopic analysis. So Sy we have negative 65 meter. U, okay, so Sy. But we also have Sx, right? So why don't we use Sx? Okay. If you want to use Sx, we can. But the problem is we don't have the value for Ux. Okay? So we have Uy, which is 0. So why don't we use Uy? Okay? Vy, we don't have any information regarding Vy. Ay always equals to negative 9.81. And time is what we're going to find. Okay, therefore we don't have V. Again, these Subtopic equations chose the most suitable one, obviously the one without V, so this one. So S equals to UT plus half AT squared. Make sure you label every vector. Okay, so Sy equals to negative 65. Uy is 0 times t will become 0 plus half negative 9.81 t squared. Therefore, when you rearrange the equation, you will get 3. I'm going to get rid of the t here. 3.64 seconds. Okay. For part B, it asks you to find an initial velocity of the ball, which means U here. But you know, U is basically Ux. Okay? So the question asks you to find Ux. Do the Subtopic analysis. Since we want to find Ux, therefore we need to consider X component for all vectors here. So as X equals to 80 meter, Ux is what we're going to find. Vx always equals to Ux. Ax is equals to 0, and time is 3.64, which we obtain from part A. Okay, so the most suitable equation, obviously the one without V, because we don't have v since we don't have u. Okay, so the equation, the most suitable equation is the last one, plus half a t squared. Remember to label each component. Okay, substitute. Ux is what we're going to find, which is u. T is 3.64 plus half 0. T is 3.64 squared as x equals to 80. So once you rearrange, you will get u equals to 21.98 meter per second. Okay, for part C, it asks you velocity just before the ball hits the ground. It means that it asks you to find the velocity here, v. Okay, so v actually like that. So we don't know whether it's v or x, v or x, y, x or y. Okay, because it does not stay in x or y axis. Therefore, we need to resolve it to vx and vy. Okay, there's angle here. So since we resolve it, in order to find v, we need to use this equation. Okay, this is how you do every time it asks you the velocity at this point. Okay, so vx, vy. Vx is always equals to ux. Vx is always equals to ux, which in this case equals to u, which we already find in part B, 21.98. 21.98. Just write down like this. 21.98. Okay, so now the problem is vy. So how we're going to find vy is by doing Suvat analysis. Okay, because vy is not equals to uy, remember that. So as y, we have negative 65. Uy 0. Vy we want to find ay equals to negative 9.81, and the last one time we have 3.64 second. So we have all this information. We want to find v, so obviously the one way is v, ignore this, so we need to choose between this and this. Actually, you may use both equations, but as I mentioned before in question number 12, choose the easier equation, okay, which is this one. Okay, v equals to u plus 80. So level everything. Vy equals to, vy is what we're going to find. We want to find uy is 0. This one time is 3.64. Therefore, the answer is negative 35.71 meter per second. But this is a value for vy. This is not the end. We need to substitute vy in here and vx in here. Okay, therefore v equals to square root of 21.98 plus negative 35.71 squared, and the answer is 41.93 meter per second. Okay, Take note, this is correct, negative, y negative. Look at here, Vy is downwards, that's why it's negative. But V here is a magnitude, therefore, excuse me, the value is positive. Okay, so that's part C. Therefore, done. Question number 13, part A, B, C. Thank you.